This story breaks a rule you didn't know you had. People don't just step out of sight and bend reality around them. Northern England, midsummer, a cottage by a lake. The kind of morning nothing bad happens on, until it does. Don't guess yet. You'll be wrong. If the strange, dark, and mysterious is your thing, subscribe so you never miss an upload. Let's get into the vanishing of Amelia. In early July 2022, David and Rachel Turner packed their hatchback in rainy Manchester. Their 3 kids ran in circles around the bins. You know how family trips go. Half the bags in the car, half on the ground, someone yelling, "Where are the swimsuits?" And every 5 minutes, a small face at the window asking if they were leaving now. They were going to Rachel's parents' cottage near Coniston in the Lake District. Imagine stone walls, slate roof, and a small garden at the edge of dark woods. A thin track, the bridleway, runs behind it. The fields drop toward a silver slice of Coniston water. The drive north was ordinary. Service station sandwiches, a fight over crisps, the radio fading in the valleys. They reached the cottage at dusk on July 2nd. That special blue light after rain was on everything. Sheep dotted the hills. Somewhere, a single curlew called. Inside, they unpacked fast. The cottage smelled like wet stone and old books. Rachel made pasta. David fought with the old boiler. The older girls, Sophie, 9, and Eleanor, 7, played in the cupboards. Amelia, 5, small for her age, walked through the rooms, counting windows. 1, 2, 3. The sound got lost in the low beams. The plan for the next day was simple. Picnic at the lakeshore. Skim stones. Look for small trout. A normal holiday. Early July, a cottage, a lake. Nothing strange. Not yet. Dawn on July 3rd was bright. Wet grass shining, blackbirds loud in the hedges, midges floating like dust in the sun. Rachel put Amelia in a pale floral dress and sandals. "We are not spending our first day hunting for tiny socks," she joked. The parents packed the basket. Boiled eggs, sandwiches, the usual argument about the flask. The kids went outside. Sophie and Eleanor built an obstacle course on the gravel. Amelia drifted along the side of the cottage, past the rain barrel, into the shady edge of the trees. She sang a quiet song about her toy rabbit. Inside, Rachel called, 10 minutes, then we go." 10 minutes, David echoed, checking his watch. 9:50 a.m. He clapped once. "You two! Shoes on! Picnic time!" The older girls ran in. David walked around the side to get Amelia. She wasn't there. No panic yet. "Amy?" He checked behind the barrel. Under the table, yes, even though she couldn't fit. "Amy, we're leaving!" Nothing. Just the tick of water from the eaves and the quiet rattle of foil in the kitchen. At 10:02 a.m., Rachel stood in the doorway. "Girls?" Sophie and Eleanor came thudding in. "Where's Amelia?" she asked. "Round the corner," Eleanor said, pointing. David moved faster this time. "Amy, come on!" His voice went into the trees and came back thinner. You know that moment when a call should bring a "coming" and it doesn't? That wrong silence arrived fast and sharp. They checked the cottage. Bathroom? Empty. Wardrobes? Empty. Behind the sofa? Number. At the boot rack, 2 pairs gone. Amelia's trainer's still there. "She's in sandals," Rachel said, mouth forming the word "why." At 10:12, David jogged down the lane. Hedges hissed with insects. Swifts cut loops overhead. He yelled, shouting, "Amelia!" The sound rolled across grass and died over the lake. "There's no one out here," he told Rachel. The older girls stood under the kitchen clock, eyes wide, unsure if they were in trouble. Rachel tried to sound cheerful. "Amy, sweetheart," she called, pulling back the curtain. "We're going to go without you." Her smile fell. Where is she? At 10:17, David stepped into the trees behind the garden. The bridleway ran left and right, just a pale tunnel in the leaves. If she went in, he said, she chose left or right. He listened. Wind through leaves, a distant bleat, the heavy flap of a wood pigeon. Nothing else. At 10:23, Rachel called 101. They said call 999. At 10:27, she did. Her voice broke. "Our daughter. We can't find her. She was just here. She was just here." Police arrived from Ulverston at 11:15 a.m. 2 cars, lights off, tires soft on gravel. Sergeant Helen Price asked the basics. Allergies? Can Amelia swim? Would she hide? Would she follow an animal? Does she know this path? As they talked, the sergeant kept glancing at the hedge and the thin band of woods behind it, as if the trees might answer. By noon, Mountain Rescue was there. Red jackets crossing green fields. Villagers came with flasks and maps. A dog handler, Colin, let his collie sniff Amelia's sweater. The dog lunged toward the bridleway, nose down, tail high. Hope rose. Then, at 12:40, the sky shut. The dog lost the scent. The path turned to beads of water. Where there had been dust, there was only mud now. "Don't worry," Colin said, hood up. "This is why we have lots of us." Kind smile. Not enough. Morning of July 4th, the rain eased. Mist clung to the trees. Around 9 a.m., 3/4 of a mile from the cottage, a volunteer, Millie Mackay, whistled. "Over here!" Under a low thorn, 2 shallow marks pressed into moss. Most people would miss them. Millie had taught small kids for 32 years. She knew the size of a 5-year-old's foot. Barefoot. A faint heel. Toes splayed, like someone paused and turned away. "Barefoot?" Colin said, taking photos. "She wore sandals." "They slip," Millie said, nodding at a bramble where a pale rectangle hung. A small buckle. Torn leather. Still warm from the sun. Everyone wanted a map. Stand here, go there. But 20 yards on, rain had cut the ground into little streams. Any track was gone. At 1:10 p.m., a runner on the lake path reported hearing a child crying across the water. 3 or 4 sobs, then silence. The helicopter swept low. But sound on water lies. What sounds close can be far. The wind moves voices around. They found only older roots and an empty crisp packet snagged on a reed. That afternoon, another find. Near a sheepfold, under a lip of stone where no walker would notice, someone had stacked 5 flat stones into a tiny tower. On top sat a small blue petal bead from a child's hair tie. Rachel stared. She wore 3 this morning. Pink, purple, blue. The bead was blue. "It's good," Sergeant Price told them gently. "It means she was here." She didn't say what everyone thought. How did a 5-year-old get this far without anyone seeing her? That night, searchers bivvied on the ridges. Stars showed in gaps between cloud. Owls stitched thin cries through the wood. Some people slept in cars. Some didn't sleep at all. On July 5th, a team swept a boggy patch east of the bridleway and found 3 deep ovals in the peat, like knees. Peat holds shape like bread dough, 2 aligned, 1 offset, as if someone crawled, then pushed up to stand. Inches away, a thread of floral fabric snagged on gorse. It matched Amelia's dress. The knees didn't match anyone's expectations. Locals will smile if you ask about big cats in the fells. Some say there are large escaped pets out there, generations on, clean kills, sheep draped over stone walls. Others say it's nonsense. You can hear both views in the same pub. On July 7th, near a stand of larch, a volunteer named Tariq stopped dead. At his feet, in a puddle of rain, was a print. Not deer, not cow, not a boot. A wide, rounded pad. Behind it, 4 deeper commas. Not quite a cat, not quite anything. Maybe 2 hoof prints on top of each other, someone offered. Maybe, Colin said. He measured the span. The print was wider than his palm by half again. 20 feet on, another. Then another. A line of them. Long stride. Clean placement over slick, dangerous mud. If you or I tried it, we'd leave scuffs and slips and hedge grabs. These were neat. Purposeful. The trail ended at the foot of a small rise. On the crest lay a flattened oval of grass, like something heavy had lain there, watching the lake. By evening, the whisper had spread. Cat. Big cat. No, seriously, look at it. Well, what else? When Sergeant Price briefed the Turners, she didn't say cat. She said, "We found animal sign. We're bringing in wildlife." She looked very tired. An animal took her? David asked, trying to say words he didn't believe. Rachel stepped outside and stood under the eaves. She listened to the rain. That's when she felt the quiet. No birdsong. Not even the dull call of the wood pigeon. Just rain. And under it, the lake moving in its sleep. 9 days after Amelia vanished, July 12th, Ranger Oliver Keene walked the east path above Low Tarn, about 3 miles from the cottage. He was checking storm-fallen branches. In a bramble arch, a pale square of fabric fluttered. Blue flowers. He had 2 daughters. He knew before he touched it. He radioed in and said it out loud anyway. It's a piece of her dress. The search tightened. Within 40 minutes, under a low birch at the tarn's edge, they found what everyone had fought for and dreaded. There wasn't much. Time, rain, animals. A small body cannot keep itself in this world very long without help. They laid tarps. They stepped carefully. They spoke softly. And everyone, rookie volunteer to 20-year detective, felt a weight settle on their shoulders. The remains lay in a shallow cradle of reed and mud, inches from the water. Faint drag marks scored the peat. Upslope, in the clearing, the grass was pressed flat in that same oval. Nearby lay a single sandal, snapped at the strap, and a hair tie with 2 beads. Pink, purple. The blue had torn off days earlier and waited on the sheepfold cairn. What they didn't find is just as important. The dress wasn't shredded. No heavy blood pattern. The marks they saw looked like animal activity after death, but the clear injury that tells a doctor what happened wasn't there. The pathologist spoke gently. There are no signs of prolonged suffering. He said she likely died the day she disappeared. He explained how small bodies cool fast in wind and rain. He explained that animals disturb remains regardless of the original cause. Rachel stepped outside and stood under the eaves. She listened to the rain. That's when she felt the quiet. No birdsong. Not even the dull call of the wood pigeon. Just rain. And under it, the lake moving in its sleep. 9 days after Amelia vanished, July 12th, Ranger Oliver Keene walked the east path above Low Tarn, about 3 miles from the cottage. He was checking storm-fallen branches. In a bramble arch, a pale square of fabric fluttered. Blue flowers. He had 2 daughters. He knew before he touched it. He radioed in and said it out loud anyway. It's a piece of her dress. The search tightened. Within 40 minutes, under a low birch at the tarn's edge, they found what everyone had fought for and dreaded. There wasn't much. Time, rain, animals. A small body cannot keep itself in this world very long without help. They laid tarps. They stepped carefully. They spoke softly. And everyone, rookie volunteer to 20-year detective, felt a weight settle on their shoulders. The remains lay in a shallow cradle of reed and mud, inches from the water. Faint drag marks scored the peat. Upslope, in the clearing, the grass was pressed flat in that same oval. Nearby lay a single sandal, snapped at the strap, and a hair tie with 2 beads. Pink, purple. The blue had torn off days earlier and waited on the sheepfold cairn. What they didn't find is just as important. The dress wasn't shredded. No heavy blood pattern. The marks they saw looked like animal activity after death, but the clear injury that tells a doctor what happened wasn't there. The pathologist spoke gently. There are no signs of prolonged suffering. He said she likely died the day she disappeared. He explained how small bodies cool fast in wind and rain. He explained that animals disturb remains regardless of the original cause. And there's this. A week after the search, Sergeant Price returned alone with a box of items. An umbrella, a puzzle with a missing corner, Button the rabbit, cleaned and bagged. She stood under the eaves where Rachel had stood. Evening sun cut a bright line on the far hill. The cottage clicked as it cooled. Quiet. Until it wasn't. From the wood came one soft, heavy sigh. Not wind, not bird. A pressure that raised the hairs on her neck. She took a step toward the bridle way and stopped. She was alone, off duty, sensible. She locked the gate, put the box in the car, and drove away. What happened to Amelia sits somewhere between a bad accident and a story no one can tell straight. The facts are simple. A child, a cottage, a forest, a storm, a lake. The clues fight each other. Barefoot marks and a torn sandal. A blue bead on a secret cairn. An oval of flattened grass with no clear tracks in or out. Prints that cross slick mud in long, clean strides, and then stop. You decide what to hold. Maybe a 5-year-old followed a deer track, lost a shoe, stacked 5 stones because it felt like something to do, and the weather did the rest. Maybe that's it. Or maybe something old that lives between trees and tarns, something that knows water and quiet, stepped down that day and crossed the peat without a sound. Either way, there's a cottage above Coniston where, on still evenings, if you stand by the garden wall and listen, you might hear a small voice counting windows. 1, 2, 3. And then you'll stop, because that was when they called her in, and that was when no one answered.